Welcome to a joyous journey of wisdom and faith. Greetings, my wonderful viewers. I'm so delighted to have you here with me today. Whether you're returning or joining us for the first time, you are all part of this incredible journey toward greater understanding, deeper faith, and more profound prosperity in every aspect of your life. Today, we'll embark on an enriching spiritual discussion, drawing lessons from powerful passages in the Bible, particularly Psalms 77 and 80, Amos 5, and Zechariah 10. Together, we'll discover their relevance to our current situation and the timeless wisdom they offer for navigating life's challenges. Now, before we dive into the teachings, I want you to take a deep breath and embrace the joy and peace that comes from learning and growing together. The Bible is a living text with messages that transcend time, offering us guidance no matter what circumstances we face. These scriptures are not just ancient words written in a distant past, they are alive with meaning and purpose for us today. So, let's open our hearts and minds as we explore these passages and uncover their powerful application to our modern world. Psalm 77 begins with a profound cry for help. The psalmist, in deep distress, pours out his heart to God, questioning whether God has abandoned him. This raw, emotional appeal is something many of us can relate to, especially in times of personal or global crisis. You may have felt like this at some point, wondering where God is amidst chaos or feeling isolated in your struggles. But here's where Psalm 77 offers a critical lesson. The importance of remembering. The psalmist shifts from despair to hope by recalling God's mighty deeds in the past. He remembers how God parted the Red Sea and led his people to freedom, reflecting on God's power and faithfulness throughout history. This is the key takeaway from Psalm 77 for us today. When we face hardships, we must remind ourselves of the times God has delivered us before. The challenges we encounter today, whether they are personal struggles, economic uncertainties, or global crises, are not the end of the story. By remembering how God has worked in our lives and the lives of others in the past, we can find renewed hope and strength. In our current world, where uncertainty seems to loom large, from economic instability to social unrest and even personal anxieties, Psalm 77 teaches us to look back at God's faithfulness. When things feel overwhelming, pause and reflect on how God has been present in your life. This memory will reignite your faith and give you the courage to move forward. Whether it's remembering moments of healing, provision, or unexpected breakthroughs, take heart in knowing that God has never abandoned his people, and he will not abandon you now. In Psalm 80, we find another heartfelt plea, but this time, the cry is not just personal, it's communal. The psalmist begs God to restore us and make your face shine upon us that we may be saved. This is a prayer for collective renewal, for God's intervention in a time of national crisis. Israel is depicted as a vine planted and cared for by God, but now in danger of being destroyed. What stands out in Psalm 80 is the repeated cry for restoration, restore us, O God. This plea resonates deeply today. In a world that often feels fractured, politically, socially, and spiritually, we too must call on God for restoration. But the restoration we seek isn't just about external circumstances changing, it's about a deep, inner renewal, both individually and collectively. This psalm speaks to us as individuals and communities. In times of national or global crisis, it's easy to feel powerless. But Psalm 80 encourages us to lift our voices together, asking for God's intervention. Whether we are dealing with personal struggles, witnessing environmental challenges, or experiencing societal divisions, the message is the same: restoration comes from God. By turning to him with sincere hearts, we align ourselves with his power to renew and restore our world. As a community, whether it's your family, your neighborhood, or even this wonderful group we've built here on YouTube, we have the power to come together in faith and ask God to shine his face upon us. This collective prayer for restoration is what binds us and strengthens us in times of trial. Moving to the book of Amos, specifically chapter 5, we encounter a powerful call to justice. Amos, a prophet with a fierce message, warns Israel of impending judgment if they do not turn from their ways. But the heart of Amos 5 is the command to seek good, not evil, that you may live. Amos passionately speaks against empty religious rituals and calls for genuine justice and righteousness. Let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. This passage couldn't be more relevant today. In our modern world, where injustice can feel pervasive, whether in the form of inequality, corruption, or the mistreatment of vulnerable groups, Amos reminds us that God cares deeply about how we treat others. True prosperity isn't just about personal success or happiness, it's about living in a way that reflects God's justice and righteousness. Amos 5 challenges us to go beyond surface-level spirituality. It's not enough to simply attend church or say the right things, our actions must align with God's call for justice. In your own life, ask yourself, how am I contributing to justice and righteousness in my community? This might mean standing up against inequality, supporting those in need, or advocating for fair treatment of all people. As we look at the injustices in the world, we are reminded that God calls His people to be a light in dark places. When we seek justice and live righteously, we become agents of change in a world that desperately needs it. And remember, this work starts within each of us. Change your heart, seek justice in your everyday interactions, then you will see how your efforts ripple out into the world. Finally, let's turn to Zechariah 10, a chapter filled with hope and promise. The prophet Zechariah speaks of God's intention to strengthen His people and restore them after a time of hardship. In this chapter, God promises to bring rain, symbolizing blessing and abundance, and to strengthen His people so they can walk in His name. This passage offers a beautiful message of hope. No matter how difficult the current situation is, God is in control, and He will restore and strengthen His people. This restoration isn't just about material blessings, it's about being empowered to walk confidently in God's will, knowing that He is guiding and protecting you. In times of uncertainty, Zechariah 10 reminds us that God's plans are not thwarted by our circumstances. He is faithful to restore, strengthen, and bless His people. If you're feeling weak or overwhelmed, know that God promises to give you the strength you need. The rain of blessing is coming, and with it, the restoration of everything that seems lost. Take comfort in knowing that God is preparing you for something greater. As you walk in His name, you will find strength you didn't know you had. In the midst of challenges, whether they are financial, emotional, or relational, Zechariah 10 encourages us to remain faithful, trusting that God's restoration is on the way. As we reflect on these powerful scriptures, Psalm 77, Psalm 80, Amos 5, and Zechariah 10, we see a clear message of hope, restoration, justice, and strength. Each of these passages offers a unique perspective, but together, they provide a roadmap for navigating the uncertainties of our current world. They teach us to remember God's past faithfulness, Psalm 77. Cry out for communal restoration, Psalm 80. Seek justice and live righteously, Amos 5. Trust in God's promise to restore and strengthen, Zechariah 10. In our modern world, with all its challenges, these scriptures remind us that God is present, working, and inviting us to participate in His plan for renewal and justice. So, let's take these lessons to heart, and together, let's walk in faith, hope, and love. Thank you for joining me today, and may the lessons we've shared inspire and uplift you as you go about your week. Remember, you are not alone, God is with you, guiding you every step of the way. Stay blessed, stay prosperous, and until next time, keep shining.